Hello, welcome to the Premier NASCAR eSeries race. This is the X-Series race at Michigan. I'm joined by not only Nigel Seidel, but also Scott Rankin. Welcome, boys. Welcome to the booth. How's your night going?
I'm going good.
Yeah, not a bad start. Look, I'm just keen to be back behind the microphone for the first time in 2.5 weeks. So
Yeah, it's been quite a while since I've seen a Scott Rankin commentated race. So good to have you in the booth tonight with us, Scotty. Yeah, it's Michigan. We're joining midway through qualifying, new qualifying format. Nigel, we had to do a little bit of tweaking with the qualifying format, didn't we?
We did. Numbers were getting to capacity, so we've changed the qualifying around a little bit, so the top 40 will make the race. So yeah, it's a good problem to have, but unfortunately we've got 45 cars tonight, so 5 will miss out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's open to 60 cars maximum, so 5 cars tonight because we have 45. They'll miss out on the race, but 40 will go racing here tonight at Michigan. Now, Michigan's been a good racetrack for us here in the X Series. First race here was Ram 1. It was the opening race of the league. It was the first race ever ran for the Australian NASCAR series. That was won by Darren McKenzie, and his Southern Stars teammates Andy Barber and Adam Malone locked out the podium with him as well. So that was what happened last time the X Series came here. It didn't appear last season. It, however, has already been broadcasted this season with the truck race, and our truck race winner is actually here in the booth, Scott Rankin. That was an epic finish under green white checker between you and Matthew Budd for that race win. So Michigan.
yeah, I think the big things about this track is that you got to remember it's not just the 1.5 milers, but it's not all the way out to our super speedway length and that 2.5 mile length. The corners are very, very wide, and I've had 3 different groups of people that I've actually been talking to tonight about how to run this track, what you're looking for, what you're trying to read. And the big thing that I always say to people when they come into Michigan, it's about reading your lanes, making sure that you read those lanes, because the runs are big when they come. They're it's timing it. You're gonna probably see a few cautions because people are going to mess it up early, and reading your opposition is also incredibly difficult to do as well.
Absolutely, it's quite a momentum-based track, isn't it, Scott? Have to get a good exit if you want to set up a move into one of these corners. So you drove it recently. Best way to do that, give us a little bit of an example. I know you did it in the truck, but will it be sort of the same?
Is completely different. Yeah, certainly. With the truck, what you're trying to do is the truck obviously naturally wants to set itself up to rotate off that right front corner. The Xfinity car, very, very different in terms of the suspension architecture. Less downforce as well. So the throttle on percentages is completely and utterly different, but at the same time it suits a supercar's style of driver. You see a lot of supercars drivers tend to do well in this car that they don't necessarily do as well on the next gen or in the truck. So a lot more off throttle time is the big key initially, and then as you build the throttle, how you pick it up, you're going to see guys wear right rears running the lower line later on. Early on, that's absolutely the fastest way to get down there, pick your run, get to the front, get the overtakes done. But at the same time, you got to be careful. The truck it wants to use more of the track as the race goes on, and actually not using the bottom lane at some points throughout the race is actually a better thing to. So you're going to see some line transition. That's also why we love coming to Michigan.
Yeah, especially with the new update where the multi-groove racing came into a bit more of an effect. It used to be a bit single groove around most tracks. I think Michigan was one of the ones that it wasn't too bad pre-update, but after that update, a lot of the tracks got a lot more. The groove moved around at least a lot more, even if it was still more preferable to run the single line at some tracks. Like I know Texas, it started low, then the line went high later in the run. You could still run that lower line. It was just not as, it was still okay, but it wasn't as optimal as the top line had become. Whereas the top line at the start of the race, it was just you didn't want to touch it. You want to stay around that bottom lane pretty much the whole way around.
Yeah, look, I mean, with the truck, when we were looking at even the race that I've run, the line moved. The line absolutely moved from where we expected it to. It's a little bit, the weather conditions were actually significantly different to practice and stuff that had been done. So that did actually move the line around a lot more than you may think. what they're looking for tonight is certainly setting the car well. I think one of the biggest things is not running the car on the seam for extended periods of times. You cannot understate that. I'm gonna say that again. Do not set the car on the seam. Split the seams, absolutely. You can do that at Michigan. The banking differential's not huge. Don't split the seam on the bottom seam. That's the only seam you kind of don't want to split. All the other seams totally fine, but do not set the car on those seams. Those lower grip seams are big. One of the things I've been seeing as well from some of the practice racing this week as well is later apexes. A lot of the road course guys are going to come in here with a wide track like this, and they're going to get sucked down into that corner. You're going to see that a lot very early on. Those are the guys who are going to burn off right front a little bit more. Maybe they're set catering for that. Maybe they're protecting the right rear. So, but 3 and 4, it's all about balancing the car. You see a guy that's twitching in the first 5 or 10 laps, he's going to be spinning by about lap 30 on the run.
Absolutely. Well, we're into the warm-up section of the race, so all these drivers are finally going out and getting some track time. The drivers who will be racing tonight. We do have some results from qualifying. Let's throw those up and we'll go over them just quickly. So, start at the start, that's probably a better idea. So Jaden Russell, he's going to be pole position here tonight. Brad Newman in P2. Shane Van Gisbergen is going to be in P3. Well, we got Dave Douglas, Ruben Phelps, Jason Holdsworth there, 4, 5, 6. Matthew Bird and Manny Tolentino, he's a new face to this series, 7 and 8 respectively. Adam Malone in P9, Cam Buckingham in P10. Angus Lawford is in P11. Alex is in P12. I'm not going to try and butcher your last name, but he's a returning face to the series. Matty Ray's in P13, coming off the back of a solid performance out at Watkins Glen. Shane Bowen, Lockie Acujo, Scott Griffiths, Brendan Hobson, Connor Nixon, they're your top 18. Keep going forward. Ooh, that's a bit too far. 19th, Tim Blundell. P20 is Stephen Williams, so a little bit further down the order than Stevie would have wanted to be, but I'm sure he'll make his way up through the race. Riley Curtis, then Matt Patton. Trent Gosley in P23. Brookie Hyde is in P24. He started the season out very strong. Tom Freer, again, another driver who had a good night out of Watkins Glen. Didn't go the way he wanted it to do on strategy, but still ended up with a good result in top 5. So Tom Freer, he's in 25th position tonight. 26 belongs to Nick Bottrell. 27, Aaron Dorman. Matt Bailey in P28. P29, Jaden Green. Brian Blundell in P30. James Kai Klink in 31. He's in his, I think, second race here in the Xfinity Series. Haven't seen him for a couple of weeks. Last Friday's truck winner is here. He's Wayne Burke, starting P32. P33, Brandon Griffiths. Andy Barber's in P34. Noddy Tompkins, P35. Marty Mitchell's in P36. 37, Aaron Gilbert. Nick Burling in P38. 39th is Ben Henniker and Isla J. Williams. Here's your last of the starters. Drivers who didn't...
Update on those 2 guys, by the way, there are actually a couple of drivers that are behind them. So the first of the non-starters that unfortunately get removed after qualifying is actually Ben Henniker. So him, Tyler Williams, Michael Campbell's inside the top 20 as an automatic qualification. He moves up in, even though he's outside. Troy Mortensen, Nigel's obviously sitting here in the booth and has been disqualified appropriately. Get out, Nigel.
No, that's Nigel Patton, not me.
Oh yeah, wrong Nigel, but anyway. Adam Ariel's out of 44th and then Matt Danson's already won a race, so he is qualified into the race. Yeah, so that's the 2.
Yeah, good catch there, Scotty. Thank you for doing that. There was new system. Got me a little bit of a helmet fire going on at the moment, but warm-up's over. Now, we do a couple of things. We do a few picks here tonight, Scott. So, I'll start with Nigel. Nigel, your picks tonight. We're going to do 3. So you gotta pull 3 out.
Do we get 3 each?
We get 3 each tonight.
Whoa. Well, I've only got 1 because he's
Say
the
his name 3
birthday
times.
boy. He's the birthday boy. He didn't want his birthday shouted out, but he's gonna get a birthday shout out anyway, and that's the number 5 of Andy Barber. He helps me out a lot run this series, so happy birthday, Andy. I hope you have a good race. I hope you get your top 10. And once again, happy birthday.
Definitely will.
That's it. We're all picking Andy Barber now, so that's done for.
Yeah, I think we all have to put Andy Barber in our picks now. Scott, 3 picks.
Look, If I'm looking, I was looking at a couple names that are out of position. I'm really interested. I want to watch how Danson approaches driving through the field as he jumps back in the server. So that's an eye I'm keeping an eye on. James Kai Klink is making one of his first NASCAR starts. He was one of the drivers I was talking to just before. He's just sort of trying to grade himself in. So again, I'm not picking drivers that I think are going to win the race here. I just think they're interesting stories that we'll be following throughout the night. And Tom Freer, I think, is another one that's worthwhile watching. A guy that's sort of still wetting his lips on this side of things. Teammates Hobson's qualified, quite well up in terms of things. So look, there's a few guys out there with pace. It'd be very, very easy to sit here and pick the front guys, but those are the guys that'll have interesting stories as their night progresses.
Absolutely, they're going to be names definitely to watch. Danson being the biggest of the lot, being at that back. He's come in and out of the server a few times already, so hopefully everything's going all right there with Matt's connection, and he stays in for the rest of this race. My picks are they're going to be pretty predictable. So I'm going to pick Brad Newman. I think he's going to get his first race win. He did a really good job out at Watkins Glen, and his first race in the X Series at Chicagoland, he wrapped up a P2. So I think he's a good contender for the win. Ruben Phelps is my next pick. He's race winner in the trucks. He's Truck Series champion. I think he's also won a race here in the X Series. I could be wrong, but I feel like he's about there. He's about time to have a bit of a win, get a win under his belt, get his playoff ticket locked in for good. He is currently I think second on points in the playoffs, so he's already in a good position. But I think he can get it sealed. And I'm gonna actually throw a bit of a wild card. I'm gonna say Shane Bowen. He's gonna come from 12th, and he's gonna get a win. He's just going to find his way through.
I think one of the big keys for Bowen is that he's struggled a little bit on tyre wear. He's very, very strong early on the run, so overall pace for Bowen is quite good. It's if he can adapt to that middle and back part of the stint. That's where his work's got to be.
Absolutely, his green flag is out, and we are racing here tonight at Michigan. It's Jaden Russell leading Brad Newman down the line, and Shane Van Gisbergen slotted in that third position, currently looking down the inside. So we're going to go 3 wide into turn 1. Shane Van Gisbergen darting down to that yellow line, trying to wrap the bottom, keep it nice and tight, make sure it doesn't drift up the track. Brad Newman electing to run a little bit higher, banging down there for the 2. Just lets Brad Newman run away with all that momentum gathered on that high line. He just shoots down the back straight, and he'll clear both of them into P1. Shane Van Gisbergen also making that move on Jaden Russell. He'll get past. Dave Douglas just sitting up on the high side, making it 3 with Tolentino and Ruben Phelps. Matthew Budd in the mix as well. So he's going to try and push his teammate through on the low side. Now, that's probably one of the most chaotic starts we've had here in the series. I feel like this is the kind of racing we're going to have all night.
3 updates as well. 3 drivers have actually started from the pit lane. Jason Holdsworth, Connor Nixon, and Matt Danson all starting from the pit lane. So 3 very strong entries, not electing to take their grid position.
That's interesting. That is an interesting time.
Could it be a pit strategy?
Quite possibly.
92 laps is tight on fuel, so what's that, 46 laps on fuel? Very, very tight, but it's got to go green. And in, big fields don't tend to go green.
No,
it's a big
don't.
risk, lose all your track position for no gain. You get 1 caution in the mix there, your strategy's over and you're still in track position.
But it would be, as we round out, we're on lap 3 of 91, so pit stop window looking about, what, 41 to 44 laps, so I think here tonight. So if we get a good green flag run, green flag pit stops, they're going to be a fun time. I always love green flag pit stops in oval racing. It's just, how much do you want to risk going into pit lane? How much do you think you can risk going into pit lane? Where are you positioned? That's all the things I think about, at least when I pit down. So, well, good question for you, Scott. When you're pitting, what do you think about? Do you think about the gap to the car behind that you're racing against, or do you think about, if I need a short pit this guy, I'm going to try and make as much time possible? Like, what is your thought process when you go to make that pit stop?
I'm a little bit weird. I run completely different to a lot of people. I'm not a big undercut guy. I tend to back myself in for the overcut, and on a lot of different occasions, the overcut and timing a caution or nicking a caution tends to go my way. So generally, in terms of things, the first thing I'm looking at is strategy. Where am I sitting in terms of that strategy? What's my race going to try and play out like? And it tends to be that going longer tends to open yourself up options. As soon as you come down early, you lose all those options. Number two is, yeah, absolutely. Where am I in terms of the order? Where am I? Is there somebody right on top of me? Is there somebody right ahead of me that I want to get away from? And what does their pit strategy look like? Number three is getting down early, letting the drivers know around me that I'm looking to make that pit stop. You can't pit from the top lane. You're always going to get wrecked. That's a big thing. Is preparing and giving the drivers around you an opportunity. And number four is on the way into that lane as well. How much room have I got to work with? Daytona, Talladega, a lot of room to work with. Michigan, you do actually have a reasonable amount of space to work with on that pit lane entry.
As we just jump back in the order, there is a few battles further back that aren't at the front that are just as equally entertaining as we see there. That's the it's the 119 of Noddy Tompkins charging his way through the field. So he's making moves out on the inside, trying to make the most of that Nitro Racing setup. As he climbs through, just going to look under the 25 of Jaden Green. So Jaden Green, he's a new face this season. We've got Wayne Burke as well. So Wayne Burke, he won last Friday night at Watkins Glen in the Truck Series. First oval race here with us, so making his oval debut. Not doing too bad, I would say. Sitting down in P24 at the moment. It's a really contested field tonight. I think it's over 4,000 SOF by iRacing's calculations. So good competitive field here tonight.
Now, what was me on YouTube is that after warm-up session you get 30 seconds to grid instead of the normal 2 minutes. Could that have caught them out? Someone's talking about Jason Holdsworth, Matt Danson and Connor Mixon. Could be something like that. And also we've got Brad Wright has written, can you guys say Timo loves tank? Okay, Timo loves tank. What it is, but Timo loves tank.
Look, I've been thrown down the garden path by YouTube chat far too many times to say anything they say. So
yeah, I'm not going to say anything, Nigel, that YouTube chat tells me to say. Especially if I don't actually know what it means. So we did have Len Bailey ask a question. Is Matt Bailey racing tonight? Yes, Matt Bailey's out there. He's in the number 117. Yeah, tonight he's up in P17, just behind Matty Ray. He's doing quite well. It's a third start for him in the league, a second start in the Xfinity Series. So he'll be looking to advance his position. Already up 10 spots. Should be able to see him make his way into that top 15, if not top 10 position by the time we get to the first round of pit stops tonight.
So first run of the night, get yourself set in. I think the big part about this as well that a lot of the guys towards the middle of the backpacker are sort of figuring out, starting to get the opportunity as the field spreads actually start to happen just a little bit, is looking after your tyres and the science of a little bit of tyre whispering. And like I said, it was one of the drivers I was sort of watching and keeping half an eye on tonight was James Klink. Well, you mentioned Tim Blundell, Nigel. Somebody didn't mention Tim Blundell. I was thinking about Tim Blundell. Actually qualified quite well. Qualified inside the top 20. Reasonable qualifying attempt actually from him. There's actually some checking up. I believe that might be Ricky Hyde who just about got the barriers down in the exit at turn 2. Looking after the tyres, very, very tricky. And it's one of those things that your NASCAR irregulars struggle to comprehend sometimes, just how to load the car up, load the tyres up, and use everything we've got onto them. I'd say that just looking at that, Ricky might have mowed the barrier down at some point. I think he might have a touch of damage that's pulling him back a touch.
I think he definitely did. It looked very, very close to the wall from our perspective, and we get a good shot of his right side there. Doesn't look at it in the little fleeting moment we had on camera, but maybe just a bit.
At the bottom of the track there, just a couple of spots ahead.
I believe that would be Noddy Tompkins still. Yeah, Noddy Tompkins moving through. The Nitro cars just ripping the bottom lane there as other cars electing to go around on the top side of the track. Now that's That's quite high up. We didn't see many cars running up there in the truck series. Xfinity car probably likes it a little bit better. Depending on the setup.
It depends. Yeah, generally the way that the general consensus, the general understanding is that the higher you run up the track, the more throttle you use. The more throttle you use, the more fuel you use. But that's not really what we're interested in when we're talking about tyres. But it's more throttle on time. More throttle on time, more heat through the rear tyres generally wears your tyres more. That's the generally held consensus. When you go to Kansas, Kentucky, places like that, generally considered higher line, you know, it's not quite good. The other thing is, you know, the amount of speed that's being loaded through the front tyres. So generally coming down the track and rotating off the bottom, lower speed's quite good. The difference is when you get to Michigan, your straightaways are a lot longer, drafts are a little bit longer. I think what they're actually looking for is a little bit of clean air. And I was doing some tinkering with a buddy of mine yesterday. We were just talking to him about running in the clear air. More air to that front splitter, that's what you're looking for.
Absolutely. So maybe Ray is making a move down the inside of turn 3 on Stephen Williams here. So Matty Ray, Stephen Williams, some drivers I'd probably consider them out of position at the moment. They're probably a top 10 seed of driver. Just currently running in the top 15, top 20 at the moment. So a little bit of a night for them. I know Matty Ray's down 2 positions.
Oh, Nick Burling pulled out of shape off 4. There's an issue for Nick Burling. I think it might have been contact with Jason Holdsworth at the back of the field. No, it wasn't. I think it was just Burling on his own. He just about collected Holdsworth and Danson.
We'll get a quick replay of it. So this is Jason just passing Nick Burling. So he comes really far down the track. Maybe trying to go to pit lane there. That's what I'd think that was. And Jason
no, I think he just lost the rear end.
Maybe. Yeah, you're probably right. He probably just lost the rear end coming off the 4. So that was a bit of a scary moment for the number 11 car. Definitely would have clenched a bit harder in the seat there. Maybe tighten the restraints on the shoulders just to buckle yourself in a little bit more before maybe a big crash happening into that outside wall. But
I don't
Jason
know about you
holds
guys,
it.
But you're a white knuckle driver. You grip that weak steering wheel and hold onto it like a vice.
I'm just happy to get around the track, to be perfectly honest.
So that's a yes. That's what I'm getting at.
No, white knuckle driving was really hard for me to break. I used to do it quite a fair bit, but took some time. Just learnt to relax my hands as I was driving, and my driving actually got better. So
I need to take some pages out of your book.
it took me like a solid 6 months to do, and that was very conscious, looking at how hard I'm gripping the wheel and saying, just relax. Walking myself through it and just trying to calm myself down. There's still racing going on down here. So Shane Bowen, he's getting past at the moment by Cam Buckingham. That's for P11 on the road. There's another battle just behind them. That's Synergy Sim Racing car, I believe. Brendan Hobson. So he's in P15, up 2 positions from his starting position.
You can see for Hobbo, he's looking for a little bit of free air in that top of the room. He recognises how badly the dirty air is affecting everyone and just trying to get a run. So he's desperately trying to work on that one. Absolutely. As well. He's a little bit deeper in the field than I think he'd necessarily be happy with. So there's some work to be done. I don't know. Just from watching him drive the Xfinity car, I think he's far more comfortable on the track.
Yeah. That is, like as you said earlier, that's a big thing for the guys who run the supercars a lot more often than they do the NASCARs, is the truckers. Probably a bit closer and a bit more close to home for those guys.
Must have seen Matty Ray do it a lot.
Yeah, Matty Ray, he had a good race on Friday night. So looking to back that up with another top 10 finish. He did manage just to hold off Brad Newman. Brad did give it a good college try to get past him in those dying stages after a bit of a wayward strategy. It wasn't a terrible call. Come the end of the race, he still finished with him in the top 10. But that's Matt Patton in the Cookie Monster car. So that's Matt Pat. He's just now fighting his way through the number 58. So he'll slot into the end of the line.
Love it.
Dude, he's running that Cookie Monster car. That brings me to a good point. Out of the liveries we have in the series, guys, what would probably be your favourite? That you see? You're looking at it. The Cookie Monster.
It's done. It's over.
It's done. Oh, I have to admit,
I see
it's probably
Newman and SVG like you mates this week as well. I like the synergy cars. The synergy cars stand out. I like them, and even the SRM guys with their like different, the same paints but just different colours. And the Southern Stars do a good job with their cars. I think like they have different colours. Like Adam is green, Andy is red, Tom's usually orange, and Darren McKenzie's usually blue. So they're really good. Who else is there? That's really good.
Close racing. Cameron Buckingham started out of 11th spot. He's starting to really struggle and cause a few issues for a few guys around this 10. So he's in a little bit of trouble. I'm just seeing those tyres fall off, and I was just watching the last couple of laps. He's struggling. I think the difficulty now is that where you want to be to get that overtake is once you get to the bumper on the outside of someone, you pick them off every day of the week. But you've got to build that run.
absolutely.
And you can't build that from the bottom, and Hobson's just about smashed the wall down off it too, so he's driving the wheels off that thing at the moment.
Hobson looking to get this move made on Cameron Buckingham. As you said, Cameron probably not saving his tyres to the best of his abilities. He's up on that high line, but he's slowed up a lot for the corner there just to make it through. Cam Buckingham didn't have to do it. The momentum will come back to him on the exit, but it's not enough to give him a run down to turn 1 this time by. So quickly jump on board. Just get a look at how he's driving these corners. So here is Brent Hobson. Ooh, they do get quite close to that outside wall, so not much room. That's a fair chunk of offset.
Yeah, but he's using very little wheel once he does get down into the... And you can do that with the offset. It will just adjust where your starting point is. A lot of the... you can just see as he gets back to the throttle as well. So he's burning off the right rear. He's struggling with the right rear right now. He's struggling to get the car to turn down the track initially and then up and off the track. What you want to be doing is you want to be building that throttle, carrying the momentum. If you've got a car that's loose like that, you can't carry the momentum. So that means you can't go to the high side, you can't build the momentum because you're going to have to lift. You lose all the momentum. But you can't get at the bottom either because it's a little bit bumpier and you can't nail the throttle off. So he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He can't go to the high side to pass someone, he can't go to the low side to pass someone, and he's just going to keep falling.
Absolutely. There's the question in the chat asking what the top 10 guys in the... Well, the top 10 are running, and my best answer is I don't know. I don't know what these guys are running. I only know the Lobs guys. They're probably going to be running something of their own creation, so you won't be able to buy that. Jaden Russell, Synergy Sim Racing, they may have their own stuff as well. I know Ruben Phelps for SRM, they tinker with their own stuff, so they sometimes use commercial sets as a base, but then they'll go in and adjust it further. I know Nitro Racing, they've got one in the top 15 at the moment, so a couple around, but top 6 look like they're probably all on a modified setup, so it's not whatever. But yeah, caution is out. Ricky Hyde has gone into the wall at some rate of speeds. That's naughty. And there's Connor, and this is Ricky Hyde limping his 87. We'll just jump back to the yellow flag and we'll have a look at what happened to Ricky Hyde. Oh, Ricky Hyde into the birthday boy Andy Barber. Oh, that's not the right button. That's the right button, so they get into it. Ooh, that's a bit...
So it just looks like Ricky's struggling with a lot of tight condition there, and he's picked up the throttle, he's trying to carry the momentum, trying to hang on to the spot over Andy. Andy's moved to the high side on him, and he's just running him out of road. Andy's a touch off the wall, but honestly, Ricky's probably got more to do there to keep it off of Andy.
Absolutely, it looks pretty standard, just someone pushing a bit too far out to the outside wall, not giving a little bit more space, just with the conditions, and we're going to be under caution for the first time here tonight. So now that lovely green flag run that went for about 20 laps, that's in the bin. let's put that one away. Let's see what these drivers do with their pit stop. So Brad Newman, he's coming down. Shane Van Gisbergen. I think you're not going to see many drivers stay out at this point, so they'll all come down so far.
Yeah, I think the big key is the number one. It's a guaranteed green flag run of one stop from here. Now, in terms of if you can save enough fuel under the safety car period, you can actually cut one out, which is why Matt Danson's actually going to go ahead and take a run around. So he's absolutely going to be looking to take the wave by. I think he was the only car one lap down anyway, so convert Lucky Dog and he'll be able to just jump straight back into pit lane, get himself back on strategy. For the guys that are up front, shouldn't be a whole lot of shuffling. Everyone's basically on the same strategy. Fuel amount is going to not be relevant here. It's the tires that are going to be relevant on this stop.
Absolutely. So Brad Newman, he's out well in front of Shane Van Gisbergen in third. Manny Tolentino, he's in P2, so maybe no tires for them this time. Pit time 11 seconds for Brad Newman, so I don't think that's going to be tires tonight. That's around... Oh, it may be. Shortest pit stop times of 7 seconds in the stop. It's about 5 seconds to put tires on, so that might be it. They may have not have fueled up all the way, so that could have cut time off their stop as well. But most of the field averaging about a 14-second pit stop. Either that, they took 2 tires, which may be closer to the truth.
And getting back to the question in the chat about the setup shops, it's also good to remember too, there's a lot of practice by these drivers. So these drivers will be doing hundreds of laps of practice to build these sets for their own liking. So everyone has their own little individual way that they drive. So there's a lot of practice goes into this. A lot of these races, it's very hard just to load a set and go straight out there and race. It just doesn't happen.
One of the bigger capacities about that is whenever you're building a road car set, you're looking to keep it quite even. Both springs in the rear are going to generally be the same. Both spring perches in the rear are going to be identical. You're looking to build yourself generally quite a symmetrical car in terms of your, front. Both your rear is going to be identical. With a NASCAR, it's not going to be the case. The car's leaning, the car's tilting over. You saw the amount of what we call steering offset, which is how far the steering wheel's canted over to the left-hand side from Brenton Hobson's perspective. And that's because basically all 4 corners of the car have got different camber, different spring rates, different spring perches. All the car's designed to do, and the biggest thing that you're doing in terms of iRacing, you want to absolutely get that splitter as low to the ground as you possibly can consistently throughout the corner. If that splitter's hitting the floor, your springs are too soft or the perches aren't quite right. You've got to get it down, get it nice and sealed. Same thing at the rear. You want a nice sort of consistent height because that gives you consistent amounts of downforce, makes the car turn nice and consistently. Like I said, it's that ride height at the front. You want to minimize that as much as possible without making contact with the floor.
And it's just the work that these drivers do. You see practice servers during the day, and choosing to the Australian hours. The amount of laps and hours they put into these sets to run these races is one of the reasons why they're up the front. They put a lot of work in.
I mean, talent comes in, but yeah, if you can't put the work in, then you're going to suffer. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And we're back, Green Flag Racing. There's a car already up, I think, into a wall on the start there. People jumping out of position. I know there was something said to everyone that, hey, let's not go 3 wide before the start-finish line. You're not meant to. It's against the league's rules here. So gonna have to check that one out after the race. It's a bit of a scramble here. I don't think Manny Tolentino took any tyres, and I think some of the drivers behind did. Either that or he's had an absolute nightmare of a start, because he's dropped down a fair few positions down from P2 into P7 and still under attack there from Dave Douglas. So not the restart Manny Tolentino wanted. Brad Newman, Shane Van Gisbergen, though, they're getting away. As I say, that Jaden Russell is coming back at Shane Van Gisbergen. Jaden Russell started this race in the lead, dropped, I think, down into the lower depths of the top 10. Now he's made his way back up into second. So not a bad race so far for Jaden Russell. I think he's another one of the drivers where he suffers with his tires a little bit. And can't hang on to them for a long run. But there's a 3 wide moment here. Matty Budd putting 3 wide, diving down to that inside. Shane Van Gisbergen's going to elect not to go with him, and back out, let the teammates run side by side, see if they're going to cause an issue amongst themselves. But Matthew Budd, he's going everywhere. He just wants to keep going forward.
I'm wondering whether or not there's some tyre science has been done here. Some tyre finagling. Somebody slapped tyres on, somebody hasn't slapped tyres on, and that's what we're seeing.
I think that's what's happening, and I think that's saving that set of tyres for the end. They'll go into the, so if there is a green white, check it, or if there's a late caution, they've got the strategy.
Well, they should have a spare set by that point in the race. So it all depends. I think a green white checker maybe. It honestly depends when the last stop goes. If we go green from now, then it might be a viable strategy. But if we have another caution and later on in the race, so I'd say probably about like 10-20 laps just before the end of the race, that green white checker finish kind of like saving a set of tires for that kind of becomes a bit null and void, because with the level of drivers we've got, making a way through that many people, if the tires aren't that different, it's gonna be quite difficult. So
what you're going to see here in terms of the strategy is, as soon as that pit stop window to home opens up, the guys that are not on tyres, they're probably going to come straight away. And the reason for that is, right now they're losing in the realm of 5 tenths to 8 tenths to a second per lap in terms of their peak speed at the moment. If we go green from here, it's absolutely not the preferred strategy, but they're expecting there to be another caution, and there was a lot of checking up on that initial restart. Stephen Williams has got terminal damage. I think his night's going to be done. Matty Ray had a lot of damage as well. He's jumped into the pit lane, and it was Matt Patton actually spinning tyres, so I think Matt Patton actually didn't take tyres on that restart, and you saw him spin it as a result.
Yeah, there was I saw someone go up to the wall. We couldn't get back to it, and
It's Matt Pat.
Yeah, it was Matt Pat. So that's not what you want to see. Matt Pat, I think, joining us for his first race this season in the Cookie Monster car. He's getting a bit squirrely on that power, but
you can see also Brad Newman and SVG starting to get into back and lose a lot of positions too. So interesting call to see if this comes back to haunt them later in the race, or the strategy call will be the right one. Be interesting to see.
Well, the other big factor at the moment, 3-car breakaway. Matthew Budd, Ruben Phelps, Jaden Russell. So they've all elected. And the big thing for those guys, why have they elected to get themselves in a position with the 3-car breakaway? They passed those guys very, very early on, and then the toes helped. They stayed in as a group. Everyone else is going to go hunting, and they're not organising behind them.
No, they're not. So Dave Douglas, Tom Freer, they're too far apart really to be gaining any ground on these guys. And if they start fighting, then the top three are going to be laughing at that point. So it's onto the guys behind, try and form up, try and get that toe going, try and claw back the time that they've lost to these top three. Otherwise, if we go green from the end here, these top three, they're in a really good position for this race.
Well, I'm just watching Tom Freer at the moment. Freer slid that car all the way to the wall. He is driving the wheels off that thing to try and get to Dave Douglas and push him along. So he is pushing exceptionally hard. And there's a big mixture in terms of strategies. Have a look at James Klink at the moment. Remember, I was talking about him a lot earlier on. He took tyres at that stop. He's coming forward, so he's in a really, really good spot at this point in time. But there's a bunch of guys that aren't in great spots. The strategy's scattered, basically just completely and utterly scattered, and there's about half the field on each strategy.
Absolutely, it's thrown a massive wrench into the order of this race. We have Brad Newman, he's down into 17th. He was leading the race going into that pit stop, so it's been a massive swing. A lot of cars behind. Jason Holdsworth, he definitely didn't take tyres. He had a stop time of 7.37 seconds. That was the fastest of anyone in the field. Shows you that he's been practicing getting in and out of that box a few times this week. But it's going to be interesting come the second round of stops. We should see it around lap 70 for the end of this race. Coming in on lap 25. So we should see it, yeah, around lap 70 if they run to the end of the tank and do a big fuel save. So that's probably the latest people can come in. 65, maybe your first
the lap
call.
Numbers you're going to see. So remember where I was talking about the guys that stayed out and didn't take tyres there? You're going to see them lap 50. Lap 50 will be the latest that they'll come in. They'll run to the end from there. And I reckon 65. I reckon you bang on 65's the lap number for everyone else, because that's 15 laps. I can run them down with 15 laps. One of the biggest things I was thinking about, remember the truck, when I won the truck race back here, The biggest thing I did wrong in that race, even though I was always going to run Matthew Budd down, you know, it ended up being a green-white checker. The biggest thing that I learned out of that race was I went too long here. I should have come 5 laps earlier, because if I'd have done that, I always run Matthew Budd down, even if he makes it on fuel. I left it a little bit too late. I think the same thing's going to apply here. I think you'll probably see 60 to 65. I reckon probably coming towards the front end of that window.
Absolutely. Jaden Russell just sliding his way up into P1. Matthew Budd not electing to fight it. So maybe a bit of tyre conservation is coming in for the guys in the SRM machines. They just want to sit on these tyres, make sure they're not going to blow their tyres out and lose all the ground that they've just gained. By making
How cool is NASCAR,
sense.
though? How many people are going to sit down at the end of the tonight and cross the thing off their bucket list that says, I passed Shane Van Gisbergen?
A lot of people. I feel like a lot of people will. He's down in 18th at the moment, so at least Tim Blundell, Aaron Dorman, Brandon Griffiths, Jaden Green, all those guys in front of him, they're all going to cross that one off their bucket list. I mean,
Nige, you reckon? Would you cross it off your bucket list tonight? What would you get on with the strategy?
If it was me, I got no idea. Honestly, I would have done probably what the top 3 are doing. I would have taken tyres and then hope for that caution around 60 to 65 and put the last set on. That would have been my strategy if that was out there.
absolutely. Now, Scotty called it before, but Tom Freer, he's driving the absolute wheels off this machine to get back to them, and he's called the top 3 now. So he's definitely within this top group. Dave Douglas is just not being able to do the same thing that Tom Freer's done, so... Tom Freer, if he can...
Freer, that clear air, so there's a couple big things on this stint for Tom Freer. Number one, he's drove the wheels off it, so that car is going to be screaming at him for a little bit of rest. Long run pace, expect him to fall back just a touch. Number 2, though, is he had a lot of laps there where he had clear air. Clear air, brilliant for the tyres. You can see it with Jaden Russell. He's at the front, a little bit of clear air, starting to separate from these guys. Ruben Phelps, I think Bud just passed Ruben Phelps, by the way, and that's critical for their race, because if Bud is quicker right now, he's got to go. He's got to try and hook back up with Jaden Russell. If these two squabble, Russell's gone. His race to lose.
Yeah. No, Matthew Budd was in front of Ruben Phelps from the time being, so Ruben Phelps hasn't moved from the 3rd position. Jaden Russell actually came through and passed both him and Matty B. So Jaden Russell's sending it quite far forward. We did see him actually lose a lot of speed in that first run by cooking his tyres, though. So maybe the SRM boys, they're aware of that, and they're gonna wait until he sort of comes back to them in a couple laps time. And that's what I was saying. Maybe they're sitting on their tyres and just making sure they're not burning their stuff, so that they can continue to reap the rewards of their amazing 3-car getaway here over the rest of the field.
I think Lachlan Okijo is actually doing the best out of the guys who didn't take tyres. I've got him down on not taking tyres, but that's one I'm not confident on. I think maybe he might have taken tyres, to be honest with you. I'm really, really not sure about that one. I think he hasn't. So his long run pace is very, very good. So expect him to come back to the guys at the front late on. Albeit he could have just been in better positions, right? Being overtaken, sometimes you just put yourself in worse positions. But yeah, there's a lot of difficulty swirling around right now, and Van Gisbergen, I think, is actually starting to recover a little bit in terms of his tyres. Could be starting to reconnect back to those guys ahead of him. In fact, I think he only lost a 10th on that last lap to Blundell ahead of him.
So last lap he did a 41.94. Tim Blundell did a 41.74. So 2/10 that time, but that's not a lot of time at this point. It's only been about what, 20. Yeah, about 20. No, it's not been 20 laps. It's been about 17 laps since we last stopped. There we go. Good math. So only being 2/10 away from the rest of the field, who pitted for new tyres after about 17 laps. That's pretty good. That's not a bad pace to be running whatsoever.
And again, he's taken time out of a couple drivers that are just ahead of him. So if he can keep looking after the rubber at this point in time, he slipped to an okay position. It's not a great position, but it's an okay position. If he can just sort of chill out here, he's okay. You know, he's still reasonable. He's only going to pass 16 cars when he does get his set of tyres. The big problem for all the guys that did take tyres there, they've got one set left. If they get another caution in their race, night's over. They are just in a really big trouble. They can't afford to take tyres. 45 laps out from the end, way too soon to take your last set of tyres.
Absolutely. There's no way you'd be getting me down this early to put on my last set of boots. I'd force those tyres to go until they basically fell off the car. there's no way to make it work and end up in a good position at this stage in the race. No, but going back to what you were saying about Shane running faster, he ran faster than pretty much everyone in the top 10 except for 4 or 5 drivers. So most of those guys took tires, so not a bad effort there by any stretch of the imagination. As the 63 just tries to make his way on the inside, doesn't really have the speed to fire it off down there, but valiant attempt. We'll jump back up to the front. Matthew Budd's closed in on... Well, he hasn't actually closed in whatsoever. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Just maintaining at the moment, yeah, but Tom Freer is starting to lose the back end. At the moment, he's maintaining a reasonable gap. He's actually made a little bit of ground over Dave Douglas since the last time we checked in. But as his next couple of cars in behind him, Bowen's actually starting to make a little bit of time towards this front group. And he hasn't got really a lot of drafts. So for him to be making time, that says he's got pace in that car right now. Is it pace enough to get back towards the front end and challenge things? Probably not. But 4th place is probably where he should be tracking towards.
Absolutely. Tom Freer, we did see him driving the absolute wheels off that pink machine. So it's not really surprised right now that he's not been able to hang on with the top 3. Because they'll have switched over to conservation mode once they had a reasonable gap. So at least that's what I believe they've done. Because I don't think so. But I think Ruben's struggling a bit more than Matty Budd. He's dropped off a bit. He was welded to that rear diffuser. Well, right up where the rear diffuser is. On Matthew Budd's car. He was welded there a couple laps ago. Now it's just separated. It's about 2 to 3 car lengths different. It's not a whole world of difference on the lap times. They're still running fairly even. But
pretty sure Freer just got the wall. Pretty sure Freer just got the wall off of 4. You know, wiggle up the track as he crossed the seams, and that he didn't have enough time to. He just scraped it, but he did get the wall. So he's overdriven. The tires are starting to run away from him. He's having a lot of problems with the seam transitions now. So that's the big thing that he's probably learning at this point in time. Douglas isn't making a ton of time. And again, I'm just keeping an eye on Shane Bowen. Bowen's quick. Bowen is really, really quick. I think he was about the 2nd or 3rd fastest car on that most recent lap. So really
absolutely.
Good setup for Shane Bowen.
Lucky Akujo did just beat him by, I think, a 10th of a second, but, or no, a 1,000th of a second. So they're both moving pretty quickly up the field. They were matching lap times with the leaders, so definitely a quick lap. We'll see what they do this time across the line. I know Jaden Russell, he did a 41.7. Just beaten out by the 2 cars behind, but it's playing a game of thousandths at the moment. So Matthew Budd and Ruben Phelps, they're just holding on. They're just waiting to see what happens at this stage in the race. I don't think there's going to be all too much. I think they're gaining about a 10th every 2 laps if they hold this pace. So that's the margin we're working with. It's very fine. It's a very small game. It's very small movements forward, and sometimes you won't see it. But we're coming right up on that lap 50 window. So this is the time where if you want to stop, you go for a stop.
I think they've got to, and the big key is I think Newman's the one that's actually now in trouble. Van Gisbergen can actually wait. He can afford to wait 3 or 4 laps, but nothing more than that. I think he's got to come early. I think coming late's the wrong decision. And I'm just watching. Track temp, by the way, has come up a couple of degrees, and I'm watching a lot of cars with a lot of attitude in the right rear, including Van Gisbergen was one of them, actually, as I was sort of picking my way through the field and watching a whole bunch of different guys. So the line has changed for a lot of these guys. They're looking to set the car higher in the corner now. First car's in the lane, and I think it's Brenton Hobson.
Yeah, Brenton Hobson's come down pit road. So he's the first to blink. He's the first to come in and say, I'm done with this set of tyres. They've got no more life left in them. Let's get a new set on. Let's see what we can do for the last 40-ish, or 41 laps of this race. Brad Newman's in. So there he goes. So Brad Newman, you were just saying it before, he's decided to come down. He's the first of the Lobs cars to come in. So following Brenton Hobson, he'll come down pit road. He'll slap a new set of boots on it, but we'll jump over to Manny Tolentino. I'm so sorry.
What did I tell you? Lap 50. Lap 50 for Newman, bang on the nose.
Do it a couple more times, and maybe I'll be able to pull that call out as well, but no, I got done there. I think Manny Tolentino, he looks like he's angling for a pit lane stop in the next 2 to 3 laps. Definitely not coming down this time by riding way too high up on the track for an entry.
Well, the big key, Bryce, is track position, right? You got track position, you can probably just sit, you can hang on to it a little bit. So for Tolentino, he hasn't got track position at the moment. So you're going to see these guys pit in reverse order from where they sit on the track. The guys that are further back, they need to come earlier than the guys that are a little bit further ahead. The guys that are up further ahead, their relative delta to the race leaders isn't as high. They don't need to come quite as early. They still definitely need to get an offset. They need to come earlier than the other guys around them. They cannot afford to wait. But how late that is, depends.
Probably not going to be a good idea to leave it much longer. Brad Newman, he's out. He's ready to go take some of these cars. He's on the same lap as Nick Burling, Jason Holdsworth, and Manny Tolentino. So they'll be wanting to sort of come in soon because he's on fresh rubber. He'll start running them down. And it's only about 30 seconds and it does disappear quick.
The big key is what happens right now if there's a caution for Newman, right? This is the big key. So this is why Newman's come a little bit early as well. Needs to make sure that he's out so that he is the lucky dog. The difficulty he's got is the race leaders are actually starting to catch and they're starting to track down Connor Nixon. He'll be the first car to go one lap down on pace and he's in a world of trouble. I think Nixon probably needs to pit as well.
Absolutely. So on free, he's fallen about 4 seconds off Ruben Phelps. So he's come all the way back down. Shane Bowen, he was making a good charge, but only just clearing Dave Douglas now. So not able to capitalize on that speed all too well. But as you said, that 4th position is calling his name. If he can get past Tom Frey here before the stops, that'd be a really good result.
Well, I think he's got the pace as well to run away from Frere. He's driving well at the moment. That dirty air is just such a big factor. When you jump in the Xfinity cars, you look at them on the surface and you go, tons of horsepower, not a huge deal of aero. The dirty air then shouldn't really be a big factor. It's such a big hole those cars punch in. And for the amount of aero they have, they need every little inch of it. So the problem is getting that overlap. Once you got the overlap, you're in a good spot, and Frere just tags the wall.
Yeah, Frere tags the wall. Looking at his teammate, Brendan Hobson, he's also tagged the wall at some point in this race, getting damage repaired, been in the pit lane for about 3 minutes now, so definitely not ideal. But Shane Bowen, he'll go up into 4th position. Lucky Cugio, he's coming through as well. He had speed, he's been with Bowen the whole night, so I wouldn't be surprised if these guys end up 4th and 5th and they'll have a battle for these positions till the end of the night. If we go green. If we don't go green and we get another caution flag, then it's all on for young and old. I think everyone comes in at that point and gets new tyres. Now, Shane Van Gisbergen, he's come down the lane. So that's the end of Shane's run at like 55. He'll put some new tyres on and then run to the end of this race. 46 lap run. Should be just on the edge of a full tank there as well.
It's difficult to question a guy with such a high race IQ, but I think 55 is actually a little bit too long. I would have expected him 53. I don't think he should have gone any longer than 53. He's apparently smarter than I am, so I like testing myself. I like to be wrong too, so we'll find out the back end of this one.
Absolutely. No, he throws on a couple of tyres there. I don't think he takes the full set of 4.
He would have, absolutely would have taken a full set of 4.
Yeah, you would have to take a full set of 4. It didn't look like it to me, but I don't trust iRacing sometimes when it comes to putting the car up on the jack. So
no, he did.
Jump back up with Jaden Russell. You definitely saw?
The left definitely went up in the air. Yeah, I double-checked that one. Left definitely went up in the air. So the problem being 2 versus 4 tyres at Michigan, particularly on an older run, and particularly with the attitude we've seen from these guys, a lot of attitude in the rear end slides both rear tyres. So you do actually, you need the traction in the Xfinity car.
Absolutely. Jaden Russell doing a better job this time than he did in his first, and got swarmed by a bunch of the faster guys. Maybe got a bit flustered, so doing very well. I mean, we'll give some shout out to the Project 36 car of Angus Lawford. Don't know why the livery's not showing up there. I don't know what's been happening with Project 36. I forgot a couple of stickers last Friday night at Watkins Glen, but Angus Lawford having a good night. He's been running up in the top 10 or near to the top 10 the entire night, so that's a good result for him. As we just saw Shane Van, I don't think that's Shane Van Gisbergen.
I think it's Newman. That was Newman cutting his
way
through.
Newman coming through.
Yeah.
That it was.
So in terms of where they're up to, Van Gisbergen's just overtaken 5th on the road. So he's only got the front 4 in front of him, and he's already tracking down Newman. So they've only got a couple cars to pass, and they're back onto the lead lap. That's so critical. Caution flies right now. One of them stuck a lap down.
Absolutely. Brad Newman, He stopped on lap 49. Shane went 5 laps longer, came down 54. So exited 55. They've had a good night. Their teammate Matt Tolentino, he just came down on 56. So push probably the furthest you probably want to go. I don't think you want to push it out much further than that, because we're expecting Jaden Russell, Matthew Button, Ruben Phelps in the next 5 laps. So Matt Bailey's gone. So Matt Bailey, he's lap 60. That's probably, yeah, that's the first of the guys who took 4 tires. So Matt Bailey, yep. He'll come in. That's bold. Jason Holdsworth now, he's coming in as well.
Yeah, Holdsworth had to come again. Another one of those drivers that had to get an undercut on. The tricky part is
damage too. He would have damage because he had a incident with the car 598 Nick Burley around might have been lap 52 or 53. So he would have a little bit of quarter panel damage on that number 11 car.
No, Jason was probably looking for, but hopefully he'll be able to recover in this last run to the flag. Aaron Gilbert, another name we haven't talked about too much. He's currently battling Aaron Dorman in the 253. They're going on for it. I think Aaron Gilbert's teammate Henry King is in tonight. Hasn't popped up on my timing screen. Wayne Burke, he's having a great run at the moment. He's up in 9th. Again, Friday night's truck series winner. Definitely a good showing that he can do it on a road course in the truck, and he can do it on an oval in the Xfinity. So it's one of the better ones. He did say he wouldn't be here, but he's here now. So telling fibs.
And leading laps.
Yeah. Absolutely. Jaden Russell. You gotta pit soon, surely.
No, these guys will run along. Absolutely. So the difficulty is for any of these guys that tilt tires, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place now. They can't afford to come, right? The longer they leave it, they've got track positions as it currently stands, and the longer they leave it, the more they bring themselves back to an equal strategy where they've got the same amount of tires as everyone else does. But if they come now, they're stuck. They have no more sets of tires.
What's really important there was Shane Van Gisbergen just got himself out of being lapped down. So Shane's back on the lead lap. So that means if a caution happens, Brad Newman will get back on the lead lap. So that's important for those two. They're clear of danger.
Only right now.
Only right now.
The problem is, Matt Bailey he's just come in for fresh tires. Remember, his last set, if he overtakes Newman's back to being off the lead lap, not in the lucky dog position. So Newman will be in a lot of problems. So you're going to see Brad Newman race very aggressively here. This is critical for both of these guys as Knights.
Absolutely. We'll jump on board with Matt Bailey. First person perspective there. So he likes to drop it out, go high, build some momentum on this top line and try and drive it on exit. Keep that momentum, try and see if Brad's going to get blocked there on the outside line. That's the race leader, so Brad, all he has to do is just get past in this corner and he's safe. And then it doesn't matter, all too much. He doesn't have to race all too hard, but you can see how much he's sliding just up the track, just losing control of the car. That's going to give an opportunity here for Matt Bailey to make a run down the inside and gets it clear on the exit of 4. So Brad Newman putting all on the line to make sure he got out of the way first, and then Jaden Russell just pitted that lap and said, boys, you need to worry too much.
So there's a couple things that happened all of the part of that one that are not obvious. Yeah. So you guys that are tuning in for the first time that aren't oval guys, being on the lead lap, you know about it. If you've ever run in a safety car league, if you've ever seen a safety car with road course, you cannot afford to be stuck off the lead lap. Ovals, 40-second lap time. It's going to happen a lot more often because the lap times are just that much shorter. Big key happened there. Newman and Bailey both cleared themselves. They're now back on the lead lap. They're back on sequence. Big key for Matt Bailey, though. He was the first car of the leaders who's already taken all his sets of tyres. He is committed to this. We see a caution. His night is done. He'll sink like a stone. But Newman's back onto the lead lap. Jaden Russell just committed to coming down pit lane, committed to stopping his final set of tyres on that car. He's in a hole. I think he's in a little bit of trouble because he's one of the first leaders. He could have stayed another 5 or 10 laps quite comfortably.
Absolutely. You'll see Ruben Phelps and Matthew Budd. Just Ricky Hyde, whilst he's unlapping himself, just kind of getting in the way a little bit. Just stumbling up these leaders just a little bit. They're running side by side. That's not going to be great on these leaders' tyres. It's going to be putting a lot more wear, just having to avoid another car. I think that's Ruben Phelps also down and into the pit lane. So Ruben's in. Lock those front tyres up a little bit.
Oh,
but
Akiyo is in trouble. He's gonna unsafe entry. Akiyo's just got a penalty for that pit lane entry.
And we catch him and he's into the wall hard. That's much worse than an unsafe pit entry. That's also a lot of damage on that car. So
and speeding.
Yeah, and speeding. So that's not a good stop there for Lockie Akugio.
I was just gonna say, if Phelps is pitting, you'll probably see Akiyo in as well, and he did. So he definitely followed him in, but yeah, too deep.
Yeah, too late on the brakes, and all it takes is that as Matthew Budd, he's decided he wants in, so he'll come down pit lane this time by try not to repeat the mistakes of his teammate. Make it on in nice and safe. So Dave Douglas, he'll inherit the lead of this race. Angus Lawford as well, he's decided to go in the pit lane. So Dave Douglas, Wayne Burke, Tom Frere. So they've all been out for a really long time. Tom Frere, as we know, he was up in that 4th position just a little while ago. He drove the absolute wheels off this car. So I would not be surprised if we see Tom Frere in within the next 2 to 3 laps.
I reckon he's going to hold. I reckon he's going to stay out. So you've now sort of got everyone's committing to their individual strategies, right? We said probably the maximum range. We pit on lap 26. We can probably go to about lap 73 or so. So these next sort of 6 laps. But for these guys who are already out here, with fresh tyres also comes more overtaking. With overtaking comes risk, comes potential for another yellow flag. For these guys, they are going long. They will absolutely run this one dry, I think.
Absolutely, it'd be a good way to do it. I believe that's your mate. Oh, is that the 2.5? That's the 2.53. Aaron Dorman just there on the bottom. He's the last of the cars on the lead lap, so fighting tooth and nail to stay up. Riley Curtis came down pit lane that time by 093, electing to get on some new rubber. Ruben Phelps is in P12. Shane Van Gisbergen, crucially, he's in front of Matt Bailey. He's in front of Ruben Phelps. He's also in front of Bud and Jaden. No, Jaden Russell is the only car he hasn't managed to clear yet of the guys who were fresh tyres. I actually think Jaden Russell came out behind and then has passed Shane.
Yeah, he's about half a second quicker at the moment, so I think one of the quickest cars on track is actually Russell. And the big reason for that, clear air. So overtaking cars on the fresh rubber, difficult. You've got to try and, move the car around. Van Gisbergen's doing a lot of overtaking. Newman's done a lot of overtaking. These guys that committed quite early, they had to overtake a lot of cars with those tyres. Definitely taking some life out of it. The longer you wait, the risk becomes other guys are going to try and overtake you with the fresher tyres. So you've got to keep your eyes, as soon as you get into a pit window like this, your eyes are on that rear view mirror like a hawk. You've got to set it up. Make sure you're planning. Make sure you time it. There's a slow car. There's a slow car down the front straight. I think, no, it might have been one of the guys that's just pit, actually. You might be okay.
Maybe watch him.
Wayne Burke. Wayne Burke's all of a sudden got a bunch of damage to the rear end of his car from nowhere. So he's a big issue this lap. I think it might have been 1 and 2 last lap. I think he did get tagged by a car on fresh tyres.
Ooh, that would not be...
It was his lap 71, turn 1 and 2.
Try and get a replay of that, because that's a missing bumper cover. That doesn't happen naturally. Let's see what happened.
I reckon it's Akiyo. I reckon it might be Lockie. They're both in at the same time. All right, so here comes the field. Dave Douglas is going to go one more lap.
No, Dave Douglas is in. So that's your leaders. Brandon Griffiths, actually, he's going to stay out for another lap.
I like this call. I like this call from Brandon. You haven't got track position, you may as well keep going.
Yeah, you get an extra point as well. So if he manages to make it around to the lead and Jaden Russell doesn't catch him, that's an extra point. That's a bonus point. So it's a little bit of a silver lining to pick it up at the end of a race, but it's a very interesting thing. I'm still looking for this incident with Wayne Burke.
So it was Locke and Okijo on Wayne Burke. It was Wayne Burke's lap 71, 1 and 2.
That was Tom Frere passing Wayne Burke.
Yeah,
so
that's just after it.
That's just
I think
after.
this might have been just after it.
Yeah, there. So he's already got damage there. We can see. So
That was the reason Freer actually got past him.
Yeah, so we'll look.
Yeah, is that Griffiths in? So is that the field cleansed? I think the field's been cleansed.
Field's cleansed. Jaden Russell, he's back out into the lead of the race. So he's off and clear. Shane Van Gisbergen's third. Ruben Phelps is in second at the moment. Matt Bailey's gaining some ground on Shane now. So Bailey just hoping to run him down. Matthew Budd hasn't had a strong start to this final stint. He's down in 6th position. Maybe left it a
Brandon
little bit too
Griffiths,
long.
he's spared in the pit lane. Or an unsafe entry, so he's going to have to come back down. I just saw Adam Malone come back to the pit lane as well, so.
Unfortunate there, so Adam Malone, you know, he's out on track at the moment, so unless he's just come out.
Unless it's incident points
jumping in
on the way
out.
out for Griffith.
Maybe. I'm not too sure. Normally doesn't happen on the way out of pit lane. For those kind of points, but
Pit speed's 89 Ks. Yeah, Griffiths I think sped up a little bit too soon, so he was speeding out of his stall. Yeah, actually he definitely got the penalty. I just watched his pit lane transitions too fast in the middle of pit lane.
There we go. So it's all on Ruben Phelps. Ruben Phelps to run down Jaden Russell here at the end of the race. Currently about 1.9 seconds the gaps, around 2 seconds to make up. The question is, can Ruben do it? 18 laps to go, definitely enough time left to do it. He's about a 10th faster that last time by. So actually no, if he's only going a 10th lap faster, he hasn't got enough time. Could be 2 laps too short, and then you'd have to make a move, so probably around 4 laps too short here for Ruben Phelps at this current speed.
It depends. I mean, there is a little bit of traffic, I think. No, there's no traffic in between them at the moment. So if they do catch some lap traffic, and Matt Danson and Marty Mitchell are both on track and ahead of them, but they're about 4 seconds up the road. So there's a potential for them to catch traffic late on. That could play its way in. The problem being, you want to tow around Michigan. We've talked about being a 2-miler. You absolutely are going to make some time with the tow, but once you get to the corner, you want that clean air. So
absolutely, it's gotten even further out, so another 2/10 that lap in the favor of Jaden Russell. So no time gain there for Ruben means no time. He's a little bit further away actually from that P1 position, so I don't know. He may not have the speed to get back. He was a 10th slower that lap as well, so just unable to get the speed over Jaden Russell.
Helping hand for Ruben might actually be Adam Malone. Malone's just run about a tenth and a half faster than him, and he's just behind him on track. If he can get there and sort of push him along, that'll be the speed that he needs.
Absolutely. We'll bank on whether Adam wants to be that kind to him. You want to push someone to a potential win to lock themselves into the playoffs. It may not be a bad decision. It may win you a bit of favor later on this season if the roles are reversed. But at the moment, there's no lap traffic for them to contend with. So it's all just about putting rubber to road and making sure you go through. So Ruben actually caught up 2/10 that last lap. Jaden Russell dropped out to 41.2. So Ruben ran a 41 flat. So maybe it's just shifting. Maybe he's got the stream on. Maybe he's thinking, I'm gonna make Bryce eat some of his words here tonight. I'm gonna win this race and make him look like a ripe potato. So Ruben Phelps, he's going for it. Matthew Budd's made it past Shane Bowen. So Matthew Budd recovering up into P4. Has to get past Shane Van Gisbergen for a P3 finish and a podium finish here tonight. Currently running about half a second quicker than Shane, but his real problem here is Shane Bowen. Shane Bowen is on the same speed. He's got a fast car here tonight, so he's not going to leave. He's going to hang on the rear bumper of Matthew Budd and try and make it a race to the to that checkered flag. So,
well, the difficulty these guys got is the decision that they've got to make, and they're 13 laps from home at the moment. If they fight each other, they're not going to get to Shane. If they sort of work together the next 5 or 10 laps, they've got an opportunity to get to Shane and turn this 4th and 5th place finish into a 3rd. And I think that's more important. But as a driver, that's a big decision to make. If they can just pick up a little bit of time, Brian Blundell sits in the middle of them, they're an opportunity to get to him. But they've got to work together for about 5 laps, go hard, race each other at the end.
Absolutely. It's definitely a wiser decision to go try and catch Shane, get that 3rd position, and then fight for that 3rd position, than it is to fight for what is ultimately 4th position on the road at the moment. So, battle up the front. He's just let Adam by. But the problem with Adam here, and it's to do with his internet connection now, because you don't want that dirty air to drop out mid-corner, and then for it to come right back and hit you in the face like a brick wall. Because
it's a difficult decision, but at the same time, if Malone's quicker, there's not a huge deal you can do, because if there's a caution that happens right now, Adam Malone, yes, he gets a lucky. Actually, I don't think he actually gets a lucky dog. You know what? He does actually get the lucky dog. He's the first car 1 lap down. So the tricky part for Adam Malone is he wants to be able to pit with everyone else. He doesn't want to have to start out the back if there's another caution. So he wants to get up to Jaden Russell. It's in his best interest to go as hard as he possibly can. And yeah, look, Ruben Phelps isn't the first car. You generally tend to race the leader as a lapped car a lot harder than you race anyone else. But in this instance, for Adam, he's got speed, he's got potential. This is actually Ruben's biggest hope, and Ruben needs to recognize that as well.
Absolutely. No, I was more so commenting on Adam's connection dropping out mid-corner, because once his car goes, the air clears up. And then if he comes back mid-corner right in front of you, then it's going to reappear. The dirty air is going to smack you in the face. It's not going to be the best of times, as Ruben just gets a little loose there. So not running the cleanest of laps. He is faster that time by than Jaden Russell. So he was a 10th faster. So that toe is definitely helping him now. But all Jaden Russell has to do here is just hold the lead. Try and make sure he can keep this position and finish on a relatively good set of tires. We got 10 laps to go.
Marty Mitchell's going to come back into they're absolutely going to catch Marty Mitchell in the 651 machine, so there is going to be some lap traffic. And I think there's another car with Danson. I think's made a little bit of time, so he's clearing up. But this race will be impacted by lap traffic. There's nothing you can do about that. That's car racing. That's NASCAR. And like we said, the mentality is totally different.
Now we're looking at Matthew Budd. He's put a little bit of a gap on Shane Bowen, and this isn't ideal for Matty Budd, having to catch Shane Van Gisbergen. He's only doing it by about a 10th a lap now, so it should be able to be done. Gee, it's going to be a lot harder than it would be if Shane Bowen was tucked up right on the rear of that 37 car.
Well, he's just about in the toe, so coming off the corner, he's probably just a lick in it, but he's only getting a touch of draft, if anything. He's got to continue to try and make that time. You're right, Shane could have probably given him a little bit more help here, but Shane's also dropped off the back of him. Shane's got his own problems, his own fights to sort of deal with, and Matt Bailey's going to buy his way back into this position, I think.
Absolutely. Matt Bailey, he stopped. He was the first car on the fresh tyres to stop, and he's in P6 at the moment, so a really good race here for Matt Bailey, up 22 positions from where he started, so a mega drive. Most positions from where they started is Andy Barber. Again, Andy Barber, he can start wherever, and he seems just to finish in the top 10 no matter what. I think I said at Michigan in the truck race, I said Andy Barber he was in P9 then, and he's in P9 now. I said, where'd you come from, son? I don't know where he comes from. He just appears. I think he's got a TARDIS. I think he sits in his little TARDIS and then just appears at the end of a race. And all we see for the whole duration is an apparition of where he may be at any given point in time.
Well, I think the correct phrase there is, where'd you come from, where did you go? I think we've got to nickname him Cotton Eye Joe as the way that he's going. Is his middle name Joe?
I don't know. Nigel? It's his birthday.
Happy birthday, Andy.
Andy Barber up to PA, running up 26th position on his birthday. It'd probably be my vote for driver of the day so far, purely based on that one alone. We'll jump back forward. It's around 0.6 of a second between Matt Budd and Shane Van Gisbergen. Now,
tell you what, Tom Free is buying back into that battle, by the way. So Barber's cleared Lawford now, but Free is going to get to the pair of them. So.
Oh, absolutely. So Tom Free, he drove the wheels off this thing just a stint ago, and he's doing the same thing now. Did collect the wall, so maybe all's not too right with the car. But at this point, I don't think he's carrying too much. There's another driver who's had a good recovery drive tonight, Jason Holdsworth. He's up into P12. He was well far back in the pack and lap down come the final stops, but he's running to the end. Should be able to make it through. Brad Newman's in P11. Hasn't been the night Brad Newman wanted. I think he may have gone. Well, he was the first of the Lobs guys to pit, so he's been the one out there for the longest. So maybe he actually went a bit too early. But in the same breath, I say that Manny Tolentino, he was the last to pit of the Lobs boys, and he's in P13. So
yeah, I don't know. Newman got it quite aggressive with trying to cut his way through traffic. He just burned it off. Really, it was measured, and it wasn't at the same time. Ultimately, everyone else. You sit down and you think about it. It was a bit of a lottery. You know, everyone made their call. 50% of the field went one way, 50% of the field went the other, and that's life, and that's NASCAR. So.
Absolutely. Now, Shane Van Gisbergen and Matthew Budd, they're 8/10 apart. 5 laps to go. Do you think this one's going to get any closer by the end of the race?
Yeah, I think it will. I think he is making some time. The problem I've got for Matty Budd is that I don't think he's making enough. He's certainly making some time, but I think he's going to run out of time.
Yeah, I think he might get onto the back of Shane, but I don't think he's got enough time to set up a move and get it done. The battle for first is pretty much all but done. Ruben Phelps just unable to pull any time back on Jaden Russell up front. So Jaden Russell running away with the race at the moment. 2 seconds clear, and it's about 7 seconds from Phelps back to Shane Van Gisbergen. So have to see how this battle for third cooks up. Last lap, Matthew Budd was actually 0.2 or a tenth slower than Shane Van Gisbergen. So no ground made last lap. So Matty Budd may not able to go on.
He got very high off the 3 and 4. I think he got tight in the middle of 3 and 4, and he had to lift. So that's where a lot of that one went. There's going to be a huge battle right now with 3 to go between Barber, Lawford, and Freer, though.
Absolutely. So this will probably be one of the battles to watch to the line. Tim Blundell, James Kai Klink, and Michael Campbell also involved in a bit of a skirmish further on back for 18th. So we'll jump over that one just in a moment. But Tom Freer, an excellent drive here for his last stint, trying to barge his way into that sort of 8th position. It's definitely there for him if you can get the moves on and gets a bit of a slingshot down the front straight. But I think the best he may do is a 9th.
The big trouble Tom Freer's having is he's had to move down the track now. And the problem with running that line is you actually really got to late apex it. So he's turning down just a fraction too early, and he can't run the outside line because Lawford's taking the air away, and Lawford's just shut the air down to the inside lane again. So that'll probably sign seal and deliver that one. That you can just see he's just taking his line away. He's forced him to move around the track, and Freer hasn't got enough time to quite work it out. If he had another 3 or 4 laps, he'd probably work it out, probably move around, move back to the top, try and read that entry line. But he's going to run out of time here.
Absolutely. We're on the final lap. So the white flag's been taken by Jaden Russell. He'll come around turn 2. He's got a little bit of a pack. Matt Danson there waiting to get lapped. Other ride with him until we get to the checkered flag at this point. So Jaden Russell out here. First race in the series. It looks to be a first race win here for Jaden Russell as he comes across the line. He'll win here at Michigan tonight. Ruben Phelps, he'll follow not too far behind and he'll finish seconds. Shane Van Gisbergen holds on from a charging Matthew Budd. He'll finish on the podium in P3. Matthew Budd, a valiant effort at the end there, made it into P4. Shane Bowen, P5. Matt Bailey comes across the line in P6. Dave Douglas, he'll round out in the P7 finish. Andy Barber, the birthday boy, finishes in at P8. Tom Freer gets a position on Angus Lawford at the end of the race, I believe, and finishes in P9. Angus Lawford, maybe a moment there on the last lap. We'll have to look at the official results later on, but I feel like Angus Lawford finished in that 10th position, and we'll run the rest of them as we look to the results. But we'll jump on with Jaden Russell as he brings it to the line. He's going to burn it down here, do some donuts as a celebration. Now, Scott, that was an amazing race from Jaden Russell from really start to finish. Put it on pole. Had a pretty difficult first stint in all honesty. You get a bit swarmed by Newman, Gisbergen, and Matt Tolentino. You got a bit swarmed by those Lobs guys off the start, but he managed to recover pretty well and get into a really commanding position the other side of that early caution, and from there he just walked away with the race.
I think the big thing that you sort of got to look at, and you know, he picked the strategy right, and there is it's a risk. If you have a look at the way that the gap sort of finished there at the end of the race, and Van Gisbergen finishes the race 8 seconds off the lead, can you say that his strategy was probably less than 8 seconds, more than 8 seconds slower? Yeah, I actually do think his strategy. So overall, if you take that percentage play back out of it, Van Gisbergen should have won the race. It was definitely the quicker car, but sometimes you got to be lucky. And boy, doesn't it feel good to be lucky when you pick the right strat, when you're in the right places. And that's NASCAR, baby. You 3 sets of tires, including the set of tires you start on, leaves you with 2 sets in the pits, and that just throws a question mark over all the racing. There's going to be more races like that where you're good enough. You've certainly got to be good, and he was the better guy out of everyone that was on that strategy, but he also just got that touch lucky. Another caution at any point during that race over. He's not got a hope.
Absolutely not. No, definitely helps going green to the end of the race. So definitely one of the longest green flag runs we've had in the series and in the league so far this year. I know Watkins Glen as well. That was probably the only probably one of the only races you'll see green from flag to flag, being a road course. But it's always nice to see everyone racing so hard and so clean, and not getting a trail of cautions, which I was a little bit worried about on that restart. There was a little bit going on, but we managed to break our way through to the end. So we'll get our way through to the finishing order, and we'll get these guys in for an interview. So, race results here. Tonight, Jaden Russell wins Michigan, taking out the win. First race in the Australian NASCAR eSeries, first race in the X Series. He'll take that one out. Good way to cap off your debut. That's 2 winners from debut in the last couple of races, so congratulations to Jen Russell. Ruben Phelps, P2, had a good race tonight. Shane Van Gisbergen in P3, the first driver on that long run strategy. Matthew Budd, valiant effort, ends up in P4. Shane Bowen in P5. Matt Bailey, P6. Dave Douglas in 7th. Andy Barber is in 8th. Tom Freer, P10. Angus Lawford just falls out of that 9th position on the last lap and finishes in 10th. Brad Newman in 11th. Jason Holworth, P12. Manny Tolentino in P13. Aaron Gilbert, Lockie accused you of your top 15 cars. Im Blundell is in P16. James Kai Klink makes a good run through the field and finishes in P17. Michael Campbell in P18. Jaden Green in P19. Wayne Burke P20. Alex in 21st. Scott Griffiths 22nd. Riley Curtis is in the 23rd position tonight. Aaron Dorman for Australia Wide Racing in 24th. Adam Malone P25. Marty Mitchell 26th. Brian Blundell and Ricky Hyde 27th, 28th respectively. Nick Bottrell in the 29th position. Matt Danson has a bit of a okay race here tonight. Finishes in P30. Nick Erling in the 598 finishes 2 laps down in the 31. Sorry, Nick Berling. Sorry, he finishes 1 lap down in the 598 machine. Connor Nixon 2 laps down. Not a night Connor Nixon would want to remember. Brandon Griffiths in 33rd. Matt Patton, he's the first few cars who didn't make it to the end of this race. Then we had Brent Hobbs, Cam Buckingham, Stephen Williams, Matthew Raymond, who was looking strong early on in this race, all out with terminal damage. Noddy Tompkins, Trent Gosley among those as well.
Yeah, I mean, tough, difficult race. I mean, take a look at the retirements. There's a few mistakes and bits and pieces in there, and guys that can certainly look to improve upon something. But you know, to go 91 laps at Michigan for a single courser, and you can say for the bulk of the field, reasonable night at the office. Lessons to be learned, sure, but hey, you got to be behind the wheel to have fun and learn those lessons, right?
Absolutely, it's all a matter of making sure you get in a good position early on in the race, and then you can capitalize and maybe just get a little bit lucky at some points and make sure your strategy works. But very good racing from everyone out here tonight. We'll try and see if we can get our 3rd place finisher Shane Van Gisbergen. I don't know if he's in the group.
I don't believe Shane will actually be available for an interview, unfortunately, this evening. So I think it'll end up starting with Ruben. To be honest with you,
that is all right. Ruben is definitely a good lad to jump in and have a chat with. So we'll get Ruben into the booth just now. Ruben Phelps, it's Bryce and the Co in the box. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, not too bad. It was a nice clean race. It was good.
Absolutely. You had a really good race there all night. That second stint, you and your teammate just managed to blitz everyone in the field and run away with it. You had a 2-second gap over fourth position and just a couple laps after that restart. So talk us through what was your strategy for that last half of the race?
Well, when that first caution came out, we were sort of like humming, hawing. Should we take tyres? Shouldn't we? Should not? But we decided to put them on. But of course, you never guarantee those yellows. But of course, that was the right call, thankfully. But obviously, extend that run, and try and pit as late as possible. But then it started staying green, and obviously you would use the advantage of at least the 25 odd laps on the tyres. But Jaden Russell just had enough gap to look after him a bit more than me, and but other than that, when we were pulling away, it was just you keep the tyres on us, pull away from the field a wee bit, but just use each other's draft, and it just worked out.
Yeah, no, it was a great race, and it was great to watch you and Matthew Budd up the front. I know Matthew didn't have quite as strong of a race finish that you did. Talk us through. I know that pit stop may have also been a bit precarious, seeing your teammate Lockie Akujo going a bit haywire. Were you in race comms when that happened? Did he mention it at all, or was it all pretty quiet?
To be honest with you, I can't remember. To be honest, I was concentrating, and but I know there was obviously that incident. I'm surprised actually there was no yellow, because it's 3 or 4 people went off in the infield. But no, we're pretty quiet and just doing our own thing, concentrating on our own selves and working together, especially Matthew Budd and me, and looking after those tyres. And like I said, those yellows didn't happen, and it helped us, and it obviously kept us in the podium. But Jaden just had enough tyre on him at the end there, because I think I had like 3 or 4 laps fresher tyres, but just started pushing on that right front for that last, those last 10 laps.
Definitely. No, it was a great race. Great watching you guys out there tonight. Is there anyone you'd like to thank here tonight? Friends, sponsors, family, dog, cat, goldfish, whatever have you.
please thank the goldfish.
Thank the goldfish. There's many goldfish around the world, so all the goldfish. But of course, SRM Australia, Maddie Ray, Matthew Budd, Lockie, and everybody else that helps, and of course Moondog, and Tier Threats Australia, and Australia Alopecia.
Cool. Well, congratulations on the P2 finish here tonight, Ruben. We'll see you next week at Daytona, and we'll see you on Friday night as well.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers. So Ruben Phelps, your P2 finisher. We'll bring Jaden Russell in, your race winner, here this evening. Jaden Russell, welcome to the commentary box. How was your race tonight?
Yeah, it was good fun. A lot of good people to race against. It was enjoyable.
Absolutely. Now, talk us through. You started on pole tonight. What was the feeling starting against a bunch of the guys who are a bit higher up in the overall I rating? I know you're not slow. You definitely got the speed to hang with them, but what was the atmosphere like? How were you feeling rolling into that start?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to think. I didn't think I'd go anywhere close to pole, so to start off there, and then sort of had to think about how I wanted to run my race if I was going to lead that pack, but I was sort of glad they both got me on the start so I could just relax and do my thing.
Absolutely. No, you
In
just
terms of the setups there, Jaden, I mean, long runs at Michigan is you really trying to balance the car, balance the tires. We saw teammates having a lot of issues with the car getting loose from underneath them, different teammates as well getting tired as well. How were you actually balancing the car and balance-wise over the long run? How was that feeling tonight?
Yeah, look, I come into it having no idea really. I've never done last week was my first ever open set up NASCAR race, so I sort of learned a bit from there where I had too much front tyre and not enough rear, so I was just trying to drive it in a bit harder and get them fronts in, sort of balance a bit, and it seemed to work.
Absolutely. Now, that last stop, were you concerned with Ruben running you down, and what were you thinking about going into that last end? Like, just hit your marks, just keep going, or did you have to pay mind, or did you just race to the end, just follow all that clean air you had to the end of the line?
I sort of kept it on my relative. I was trying to keep him at sort of that 2-second gap. I know he'd be trying to charge at me, but at the same time, I seen he come from I think he might have been 4 seconds back or so coming out of the pits, so I know he blew the tyres a little bit at the start, trying to gain that time back. So I thought if I kept that sort of buffer, I'd be hopefully pretty good to him, and I was just hoping none of the other boys a bit further back in the pack were coming with fresher gear.
No, it was an absolutely great race. Great call on the strategy as well tonight. So, anyone you'd like to thank at home? I know we asked Ruben to thank the goldfish, so you don't have to thank him. But anyone you got, friends, family, sponsors, this is your time.
The mosquitoes, I think, still your chance tonight.
Just obviously thanks everyone at Synergy for turning up and having a run. Obviously didn't have the best of luck for a few of them tonight, which is, them things sort of happen. I've had the same thing to me, and just part of it. So thanks to them for turning up, and thanks to everyone for putting it on, you guys for doing the broadcast, and we'll be back to do it again next week.
Mate, and don't forget to go out to Brenton and tell him I'll curse his other hard drive if he's not careful.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, congratulations on your first race win in the series. Here's to many more to come, and we'll see you in the next race at Daytona.
No worries, thanks boys.
No worries, thanks Jed. Alrighty, well that's everyone. That's all our interviews here tonight. That's concluded. That's the race at Michigan done and dusted. We got next week's race at Daytona to look forward to, and Friday night truck series they'll be at. This is a great time. To forget where the truck series will be, but they'll be somewhere.
Milwaukee Mile.
Ooh.
Milwaukee Mile. Ooh. So we're gonna have a bit of whiplash for the end of this week and the start of next. We're gonna go from a 1 mile to a 2 mile racetrack. Bit of whiplash, two very different types of racing. That's going to be exciting to watch. Now, there is something going to just tack on and add at the end of the broadcast. Australian NASCAR Championships, they start in September. So if you're still considering getting onto the Australian NASCAR Championships, there's the Motorsport Australia-backed NASCAR series. Qualifying starts in September. All the details are on the Discord. You can find that through our Facebook page at Australian NASCAR eSeries. And we hope to see a good field there. I think we got enough for about 2 splits nearly. So a lot of drivers, and it's going to
61 drivers have now registered, so it's looking great.
Yeah, that's enough for 2 splits. If it's going to be a recurring series, so if you want to get in the top 30 this time by, join now and get yourself locked in not only for 2025 but potentially even locked in for 2026. But that's all from the broadcast team. We'll be signing off, and we'll see you on Friday night at the Milwaukee Mile.
Happy birthday, Andy.
Happy birthday, Andy's goldfish.
No, they didn't get caught. I really wish it did. Oh no, it did. I said we're still on the Are You Sure?